Our next inductee is a Rhode Island legend as a player, teacher of the game to a Rhode Island generation, and father of the state's most accomplished hockey family.
Harvey A. Bennett, Sr. Harvey Bennett was synonymous with hockey in Rhode Island, both during and after his outstanding playing career. A 13-year veteran of the American Hockey League, most of which came in the nets for the Providence Reds, he was one of the most successful goaltenders of his era. Harvey made his professional debut with the Boston Bruins in 1944 and won the first of his 3 Calder Cup titles 2 years later with the Hershey Bears. He moved to Providence in 1947, starting his career with the Reds by leading the league in wins for 3 straight seasons, including an AHL record 43 victories in the 1948-49 campaign that ended in another Calder Cup championship. He helped lead Providence to another Calder Cup in 1956 with a season-long performance that was later recognized by the Society of International Hockey Research as the greatest minor league season of all time. When he retired from professional hockey, Harvey had appeared in 540 regular season games and amassed 260 victories. He was voted into the AHL Hall of Fame in 2013. His impact on the game in Rhode Island didn't stop there, however. He was a passionate promoter of youth hockey in the state, tutored hundreds at his hockey schools, and opened a hockey pro shop in Cranston that is still run by the Bennett family, nearly 50 years later.
Ladies and gentlemen, accepting for his father, please welcome Jim Bennett. Presenting him with their father's Hall of Fame medallion are his talented brothers, Harvey Jr., Bill, and John.
Wow. Ralph was my coach. Big fan of Sarah DaCosta. This is sort of emotional because there's so many people from our careers that are here. So I'd like to thank this group, Vinny and Samini and Mal Goldenberg, for putting it all together. Now, I'm told I'm the only Bennett that did not play Major League Hockey, as well as my mother. But Lou Lamorello said she would have made it, but she was sort of a hothead. I'll be brief. I'm going to try to channel some of my father's thoughts because he really was an interesting guy. He had an interesting approach of the way that he played the game and the way he wanted it to be developed. And it's funny because I hear all the experts, my son's just gone through the process now, and they say the same things now that he said 50 years ago. So he sort of was a little bit, I think, ahead of the curve, and we all certainly benefited from it. But just a couple of salient points. I mean, you know, look at, you got All-Americans here, and you've got NHL All-Stars here, women Olympians here. It goes on and on and on, all from the little state of Rhode Island. And I think he would be sort of amazed at that. But I think the other point is that how many kids went to college and weren't, you know, superstars, but they got into college, they got into junior college, and they got a chance to play and enhance their lives. So I think that was kind of one of the messages. We never really started off thinking that these guys were going to play in the NHL. I think it was more just an opportunity to play and go to college. And then briefly, I just need to touch on 2 people. There's several people, but there's one in particular that I think my father would want to talk about, and that's Lou Peary. So Lou Peary, obviously my dad played with him for 12 years, and he gave my dad a job, and then he actually got him a job after he got done playing hockey. My father had an 8th grade education, so Lou was one of his heroes. In fact, he always referred to him as Mr. Peary, never Lou Peary. And one of the things he did was he let my dad use the ice for an hour a week at the old auditorium. Everything you'll see is sort of interconnected. It all ends up at North Main Street at the old auditorium. So Lou was one of my dad's heroes, and he talked about him to the day he died. Talked about him. And of course, along the way, he got a chance to know George Army. And George, obviously, was the patriarch of a very famous hockey family here in Rhode Island. Tommy Army, I believe, is here somewhere, who's also one of my coaches. And George was kind of interesting because, you know, he's the trainer. And if you saw, you saw Ross Brooks here earlier, I mean, those guys, they didn't wear any equipment, Sarah. They had nothing they had nothing. They had no mask. They had, my dad's hands were mangled because he'd catch a puck and the hand would break. So he became very early on, he made friends with the trainer, which was George Army. And I can remember that before we'd go to play hockey on Sundays, my dad loved George Army, loved Mrs. Army, and we'd go have a coffee. I was just a little kid, and whenever there was an injury, whenever there was anything, we didn't go to the doctor, we went and saw Mr. Army. And this one time, we were moving, and you know, the interesting thing, when you get stitches, which, you know, having 6 boys, there's always stitches, he would save the stitches, and he'd put them in this little gauze, and you have to take them home like it was sort of a badge of honor, something like that. Am I supposed to go? I'll shorten it up. So anyways, we're moving, and we open up the drawer, and there's this whole box of gauze, all these stitches that Mr. Army had collected over the years. So I had to talk about those two gentlemen, and I also would like to just talk about the hockey community. You know, these guys had great careers in the 60s and 70s, and, you know, through triumphs and tragedy, the hockey community was always with the Bennetts. So, thank you so much.
Trust me.